buddy? That's not good. Alright, thank you for coming back to Anthracite Horror Stories, and happy Halloween. First fire of the cold season. I'm pretty excited for it. Love sitting out here even when it gets down into the single digits or even colder. Nothing better than having a campfire when you actually need it. And there's less bugs this time of year, so it's just very exciting for me. Well, tonight I'm gonna basically have an audio video in a sense, except for the fire you see in front of you. I'm going to talk about the abnormalities, possible ghosts, demons. I don't know what they are. Maybe just natural phenomena that has always been on this planet and always will be. I've had some really weird stuff happen to me underground. And with that said, I'm going to officially proclaim, stay out, stay alive. Don't go into abandoned mines. I first started going in 2004. I started my hobby hardcore in like 2003, but I started underground exploring in 2004. Been doing it for about 19 years. So if there's any trolls out there that want to report me, think they're being witty, contacting the DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, or whatever. It's already happened. About 12 years ago that happened. So I know those folks pretty well. They know me pretty well. I even know people in the Game Commission. So yeah, I've given up a lot of dangerous mines to them, ironically, after people called the DEP on me. I give up really dangerous mines and gives a safe habitat for bats and other wildlife, so those areas cannot get developed. They're safe from the wrecking ball because I wish I'd given up more mines in a sense, because warehouses are built over a lot of them that I've went in, and those bats are entombed and other animals are entombed, and there's no future safe habitat for them. So I even did the Avondale Colliery, and that's the famous mine where 110 or 112 people were killed in about 12, 13 years, maybe 14 years ago. Someone dug open the one opening there that was used as a prospecting tunnel originally before the colliery even existed. In 1869, when the colliery burned down, there was only one way in and out. There wasn't the old prospecting tunnel that just by chance did poke through the vertical shaft, and they made an impromptu hoisting cage, and they were able to bring all the deceased miners and the 2 deceased rescuers out of the vertical haulage shaft and through that prospecting tunnel ultimately. And I gave that up to investigators for a bat gate because people are doing satanic rituals down there. It looked like there was a naked Barbie doll type thing and an animal skull, and it smelled urine, and there was circles of rocks, a circle of rock. It was weird. I don't know if kids were just messing around or whatever, but the energy was heavy down there. And I was not going to have that tunnel where 100 plus people died be desecrated by some sickos. So they put a really nice back gate on there, and it looks pretty natural. So yeah, the DEP does know who I am. So again, stay out, stay alive. When I went underground, past tense, it wasn't an amateur tube. It was a big learning curve, and I'm lucky to have survived that learning curve. My friends and I, we always brought an extensive kit. I always carried oxygen on me, digital detectors, flame safety lamps, tourniquets, the high-end lithium powered through-night batteries, tons of spare lithium batteries, tons of water, another backup through-night with extra batteries, backup LED light, chem sticks in case I got stuck and had to use those for 24 plus hours per chem stick. You know, you have to think smart if you're going to go underground. I always let a third party know where I was going, etc. So again, please stay out, stay alive. I'm kind of a skeptic in the afterworld, if you will. You know, it's the great unknown to humans, and to this day I'm skeptical, even after I've had such harrowing, bizarre things happen to me underground. So I'm going to dive right into this. In the late 90s, behind Weiss Markets and Plains, along O'Malley's farms, down by the Susquehanna River, there's an old strip mine, and we referred to it as the dog hole. One year, actually, someone stuck a pet alligator in there because it just got too big, and for a summer in the 90s, there was an alligator floating around, you know, no joke. But basically, they strip mined anthracite coal, and the hole was probably 130, 150 feet deep from what I can deduce from people that saw it back in the day. And because it's right on the river floodplain, it filled in with water real quickly, especially once they turned the pumps off. So there's a big man-made lake, and adjacent to that there's a big pit that also fills in with water. And an archaeologist team that my friends and I met in the late 90s, we got talking to them, and we were asking what they were doing in this big pit, and they said this was a big excavation site in the late 60s for Indian artifacts. And we were amazed, you know. Back in the 90s, you know, parents let their kids go out and talk to strangers, especially in the woods. I mean, it's lucky that I was never abducted or anything like that, but, you know, before white settlers here, for thousands and thousands of years, there was Iroquois Indians here and all types of Native Americans. So, potential, if you do believe in spirituality, holds true that, you know, this area's got a lot of energy to it. So I remember seeing a lot of arrowheads pulled out, all types of sharpening tools, and the researchers told me they even found a Spanish musket, which is interesting. So there's a lot of British and French influence also. So when strip mining came through, undoubtedly they wrecked a lot of these Indian stomping grounds. So, you know, it's like the late 90s. We used to go down there and smash bottles and have campfires and shoot BB guns and just act like kids, you know, explore. All these people shooting guns down there, occasional ricochet goes over your head, and it was just fun, you know, blowing off fireworks, and just a good time to grow up in the 90s. So, you know, kids being kids, boys being boys, especially in the 90s, we acquired some adult beverages, and we thought we would sneak out without our parents knowing. We went down to the dog hole, and the topography was around the water where we were, you know, enjoying our brews, thinking we were awesome. It was daylight, and we situated ourselves around picker bushes, and we knew the lay of the land very well. We were pretty damn secluded, and we did that until it got dark. And I don't litter, nor do my friends, but you know, like when you're just a teenager and you're drinking beer, you have to toss the cans, because when I bring the cans home and recycle them, and my parents would be like, you know, what's with all this beer? They'd kill me. They'd absolutely kill me. So we toss the cans near the water. And again, we're completely surrounded by thickets and everything else. Plain as day, we heard right in our ears, "You shouldn't litter." And it was loud. It was more like, "You shouldn't litter." It was right in our ears. It's like it emanated around us. And it was total dark. There's no way anyone could have snuck up on us with a flashlight or without a flashlight, because we would have heard them, we would have felt them. We didn't know that at the time, but we were freaking out. All three of us, three of us, my two buddies, we went running right through the thickets. We all got cut up. I was cut up my face, I was cut up my arms. We're running. We ran a half-mile back behind Weiss. I remember holding my beer thinking I was cool, and I chugged that, and I was like, "Oh my god, what was that?" We're all like, "What was that? Did you hear that?" And my friend was like, "Yeah, oh my god." And, you know, just even last year, I talked to my friend about that, and he remembered verbatim the same thing. We have no idea what the hell that was. Just don't know what it was. It was like he almost like laying on his side, calmly watching us, just saying, you shouldn't be littering. So, don't know if it was some sort of haunting or what. It was something. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But we thought we were busted by the police. And of course, there was nothing there. So I'm just going to include that as the first story because that's technically a coal mining ground. I believe that was the Lehigh Valley Coal Company back there, by the way. So, fast forward to 2004 when I first started going underground. There's a spot in the woods, and I'm just going to not give locations, mine names. I'll give coal company names, but they're extremely vague because there's just a few big heavy hitter coal operators in the region. So again, I'm not going to give locations. Please don't share locations too in the comments. So there's something off about these woods where my first beloved mine that I would explore existed in. There was a kid that used to go around who committed suicide violently, but he was very violent to animals. He used to kill animals, very violent to people. He was locked up in state prison for quite some time, but this dude would roam these woods. He'd assault people randomly. I met a guy in the Army that talked about, you know, we were both from the area, and he couldn't believe that I used to spend a lot of time in these woods, and he talked about how he got shot at by this kid, and he didn't even know he was getting shot at, and this kid popped out of nowhere and said, "That's for not flinching," and he shook his hands and walked away. It's real weird, but my friends got held up at gunpoint in the middle of the night by this kid. This kid one time beat the crap out of a kid and then put him in the hospital. His friend climbed up a tree, and he had his friends way at the bottom of the tree so his kid couldn't escape. He cut down the tree, and the kid got hurt, and he beat the crap out of him when he got down on, you know, when he got knocked out of the tree, essentially. So the father went into the woods the day after, you know, because his son was mangled, and this kid beat the crap out of this guy's dad. I mean, just setting the tone for the energy of this area. There's something off about that too. For years, for like 6+ years, this kid roamed these woods when I would go exploring there. And I was always ducking in bushes, and because you'd hear an ATV come, and man, it was just sketchy. So in 2004, when I first started going in, I remember it was like Friday the 13th, July or August, and I talked to my 2 buddies to go in with me. And on the first level of this mine, it's a pretty good ways in, about a third of a mile, there's a pit, and it's a manway. It's an internal air shaft, and you very carefully drop down about 10-foot vertical almost, some slippery bottom rock there. The water coming down, you could get real hurt. And it acted as a manway and an air shaft, and it was pretty steep, and they poured concrete stairs going down. There's rock falls and all that. And you're about 285 feet of solid rock above you when you get down to the second level. So my one buddy didn't want to go down, and he decided to stay on top of the first level. And he said, you know, go explore, I'll wait here. And we said if we didn't come back in a couple hours to come down and get us. And he was like, yeah. So we're exploring down there. Of course, we go past the 2 hours, and we heard the loudest cave-in. And it shook the mine. It was nuts. It was like an earthquake. I've never experienced anything like that, and never want to experience anything like that ever again, because it was just terrifying. I thought we were going to be entombed. Now the thing is, about 1/10 of the way down the internal air shaft / manway, you lose all audio ability of communicating with your friends on top of it, of the first level, because the rock holds in sound. So times that by about 10, 15 or whatever, and then we went another easily quarter mile into workings, and there's no way we could hear each other. He could hear anything that was going on down there. So we quickly ran out. Of course, we take a wrong turn and came to a collapsed tunnel because we were panicking, and we were like, oh my god, we're entombed, we're entombed. And sure enough, we were entombed, thank god. We were laughing about that we just took a wrong turn. And we were so relieved that we were able to get to the first level. And we saw spray painted on the ceiling went out because he had a can of spray paint. And we're like, what the hell? So like we ran out in our third of the mile, got out of the portal, which is the entrance. And of course the smoke is ripping here, so I'm gonna move the camera. We were like, what's your problem, man? Like, you're supposed to come get us and blah blah. He's like, dude, there was like an earthquake up here. There was an earthquake, the whole mine shook. And we were like, yeah, we heard it too. So, I mean, none of us ever saw anything. He said it sounded like it came on the first level. It sounded like it came down the second level. I don't know. Could something mess with us? There's things some people think of as residual hauntings, where it's just like a replay, but like a historical incident where it just loops on a replay. But I've had so many weird incidences take place in this mine. Just so many. I'm going to talk about them. I've been in so many mines. I've been in so many mines over and over again. And even within those mines, I've done so many trips in those other mines. It's ridiculous. But this one mine is just so energy charged. And then another mine is so energy charged. There's only like 2 mines that really, really get nuts here. And they're basically the only ones I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to put some more wood on here. So bear with me. Gotta adjust the movie set. That pine, it likes to burn down pretty damn quick. Throw some hardwood on too. But I was horrified at how many incidents have happened to me. I was thinking there's just a few. And as I'm getting going here, I'm realizing that there's just so many, and it's just very troubling. Very troubling. Because there's a lot of malicious things that have happened to me that I'm going to discuss. I cannot explain it. And all of these incidents, there was other people involved. Everybody felt the same things I felt, smelled the same things I smelled, and saw the same things I saw. So, I have no reason to be making this crap up. None. So, another time, LED lights had just came out in the same exact mine. It was a Dorsey light. And I spent a little bit of money on it. It's in my pocket. I don't even think it was on. And all of a sudden I'm like, what the hell? Like, my leg. I like rip out this Dorsey light. Freaking thing short-circuited somehow and caught fire inside, and it was like burning the hell out of my skin. I have the top of that thing still because I was so troubled by it. It made no sense how that thing short-circuited. So it's just a weird experience. Fast forward a few years later, and we're in the mine. It's winter time, and I'm underground with an Afghan Iraq vet that I met from shooting school when I was in the Army. He was an instructor. He was a real hard ass. So we did our exploration, and we're about to leave, and about 60, 75 yards back from the entrance, ice likes to form, all the way from the entrance to the backside. That's why a lot of these mines are collapsed. They're not collapsed because they blasted them shut, as I thought when I first started doing this hobby, or bulldozing them shut. They basically seal off on their own because a pothole-like phenomena occurs, like on roads. water gets in the cracks from the natural strata, and ice water drips down, and the air temperature in mine is pretty constant, but in the wintertime near the entrance for the first, sometimes over a quarter of a mile, can get really cold in there, like 20s, 30s, depending on how cold it is and the airflow. But then it picks up till its natural air temp, which is like in the mid to high 50s. But near the entrance, like a kill zone, because ice forms. They form these ice stalactites and stalagmites, and sometimes like 3-4 feet thick and wide. It's just crazy. It goes from the ceiling to the floor. And I saw one of these. I didn't think much of it. I think it was melting slightly. I remember it was February, and I had a weird feeling. It just, something felt off about this spot. And I was gonna put my tripod there, take some photos, because I'm a photographer, and I just decided to talk to my friend. If I had set my tripod down where I was like having a vision of setting my tripod down, I would have been crushed, because the roof gave way. And it was a decent sized chunk. It wasn't crazy. It was about 1,000 pounds though, give or take a few hundred. And it changed the air pressure in that rock tunnel for a moment, because it was like, I remember just seeing it drop, and I felt the air just, hit you like a shockwave. It was like boom, and there was water on the ground, and it splashed me. That's how close I was when that rock hit. So I was waiting for a secondary fall to occur, and luckily it didn't. My Afghan Iraq friend, he was calm as hell. I was rattled in that moment. So I don't know if something was warning me, something bad's gonna happen, or I don't know, maybe something was trying to smoke me. But I mean, the way I look at it, that roof was intact since like Pangea, when all the continents were one, like 300 to 450 million years ago. And right then and there, when I'm getting a weird feeling, the roof is getting ready to go. So who knows? Who knows, man? Now, fast forward a few years later, we're down there in the wintertime. Another friend who's a fighter, and I mean a fighter. In high school, this kid was a notorious tough guy, and people would challenge him, and he'd beat the hell out of them. So we got talking on Facebook years ago, when I had Facebook, and he was like, oh yeah, I'd love to go mine exploring. We're all right, So the same exact mine that I talk about, we'd go down the first level, go down the second level, like it's treacherous, climb down, and go through an opening that's like a little cinder block opening that helped guide airflow. So they would make cinder block openings, they would put cinder block in openings and put like little doorways in them to regulate airflow, so they could, not have to constantly send good air until parts of the mine where they weren't mining anymore. And the doorway's long since rotted off. So we walked through, and all of a sudden we heard this like electronic voice. And it sounded like, again, it was emanating around us. He stopped, and I stopped, we're looking at each other, and it was like a couple seconds, like 2 or 3 seconds. Like, what the hell is that? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, you hear something? He's like, yeah, I heard like a voice. And he kind of like got weird about that. He kind of like clammed up then. He kind of got quiet. And I was like, man, it sounded like when you get your voicemail, and you know how there's always that female voice, and it's like, blah, blah, blah. It was like that. It was like rambling. It was weird. And we thought someone was just messing with us. I thought in my head in that moment that someone put like a tripwire device, and they like something that would activate electronic voice recorders. It just made no sense. So I was like looking around. I'm like, oh, wait, I snapped out of that real quick. I'm like, that was something, because like the water table rises and lowers and rises and lowers there too. So if anyone placed anything, it would be destroyed, because that water just goes up and down in that spot because it's so deep. And it was weird. I couldn't make sense of it. So I don't know if it was that trip or another trip. I brought him down again because he thought it was cool, or it might have been that trip. Can't remember. He got really, really weird on the second level. He was sick, but he like snapped out because he had like an upper respiratory. I'll never forget. He like walked away on me. He was like roaming down to a spot, and this, I swear to God, this is 100% true. He was walking down to a spot where later on I'd have a lot of weird, unexplainable things happen. comes up and he looked different in his eyes. And he comes up, he just looked weird. He comes up to me, he was like laughing, and he was like, we never talked about paranormal stuff or anything. And he comes up to me and I'm taking photos. And he's like, do you know what's wrong with you? And he's like just staring through me. I'm like, no. And he was like, you don't want to know. And he looked evil. I was like creeped out. Like, I'm like, and again, he's tough. And I'm like, I don't feel like getting my ass. I just didn't want to mouth back to him. I was getting weird. I'm like, is he just messing with me? But he was being a dick. He was like, and he walked away. And then he's like, I'm leaving. And he like went out. And we explored other mines together, and he was fine for a lot of them. But he went up the stairs, and like right when he got to the stairs, he started coughing, and then he apologized. He like became like his normal self. It was weird. It was weird. And the next day he called me and said, hey man, I don't know what got in me. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. And I was just like, I didn't really talk to him much after that, because it's just, I wish he told me what was wrong with me, you know? But in all seriousness, it was weird. Strange. So, in that same mine, in the summertime, in the summer, that vents air. So the mine in the air in the mine exhausts out due to physics. The hot air, the cold air, and blah, blah, blah. In the wintertime, that one is like an intake. Cold air sucks in. So warm air and cold air, the air shifts completely. So it's summertime, and we come in, and all of a sudden, we're kind of near the entrance, like real close. And we're like bullshitting around a wall. And we couldn't see the opening, and all of a sudden I smelled cherry tobacco. And my friend smelled cherry pipe tobacco. And it's like a cigar. It was like a cigar-ish too. It was weird. It was like someone's like right there. We're like, shit, like turn your light out, because we thought someone was in the mine with us. But we're like, oh, is it coming from outside? It's gotta be coming from outside. Like, I'm like, yo. So my friend went around and he looked at the entrance, and there's no one there. He's like, what the hell? And I'm like, dude, I just realized, it's exhausting this time of year. It has to be coming from within the mine. And we were like, oh man. So we looked down the rock tunnel. It's like a straight shot, like a third of a mile back, maybe a quarter mile. Nobody, nothing. And it hung around for a few seconds, like 7, 8, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. Nothing. Went away. If you Google that, it's a pretty common theme for hauntings is pipe tobacco. So one of the weirdest things that happened was this, and this is, you know a story is going to be good when you get a phone call from someone at like 11:30 at night. And it starts out like, hey, we were in the mine, the same exact mine, I'm going to admit the name, Hudson Coal Company mine. My friend and I were down the second level, and I think he left his house keys in the mine on the second level. Can you come down with me to help find them? I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I don't want to, this sucks. But I'm like, okay, I'll do it, don't want to leave someone. I'm going to put some more wood on. I don't want to leave someone, because he was going to go anyway. And soloing mines is not smart. I've done it. Some of my friends do it. I do not like soloing mines. From a safety standpoint, and also from like a spirituality standpoint. I just like someone else for company, because it is freaking scary. All my friends that have done solos, it doesn't bother them. The danger for me is one thing, but I'm just scared. I'm not gonna lie. I've done an epic mine alone, and I've done 2 epic mines alone. It's just, I can't enjoy myself when I'm alone. So we meet up, wintertime, heavily secluded area. Everything's frozen. Air does not, the cold air does not allow for sound to travel well, as you know, in the winter. So just keep that in mind for this story. So again, same exact freaking spot. It's a big mine, decent sized mine. second level. The bottom of the second level is water where there usually isn't a lot of water. And I didn't want to get my feet wet because I didn't have muck boots on, or waders. Just had regular boots on, and he couldn't carry me. So he tried. I was shocked they couldn't carry me because I'm not a big guy. I was like 185 pounds, 180 pounds. And this guy's a bigger guy. He's well over 200. So I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm not getting my feet wet because there's PCB oil from the transformers, all that crap, bacteria. And I don't want to like have frozen boots with wet socks. So I'm like, I'll wait here, climb up and down the stairs and look for artifacts, old bottles, old lamps, whatever. So he's like, all right, you don't care? I'm like, no. And he's like, it might take a little while. I'm like, take your time. If you don't come back in agreed upon time, I'll come looking for you. He's like, all right. I'm like, take the flame safety lamp, you know, for damp. And he's like, okay. So he had the flame safety lamp. Came back like 45 minutes later, and he was spooked. And again, this is where I had weird stuff go on. And this is where I'd have even more weird stuff go on down the road. He's like, something weird happened to me. Something weird happened to me. Something weird. Nah, you'll think I'm nuts. Nah. I'm like, tell me. He's like, nah. And he was like, he was genuinely freaked the hell out. And I'm like, okay, just tell me, man. He's like, I heard big band music playing down there. I'm like, what do you mean big band music? And he was like, I heard big band music playing. Like heavy instrumentation. Like brass and drums. I was like, was there audio? He's like, no. He's like, it was like someone played an audio, like an old record player. Dude, we're 285 feet underground according to the maps, roughly. We're from the entrance, probably at where he was, probably a mile underground, pretty damn close to, if not more. Many winds and turns. There's no other entrances. There's one. In fact, down there is black damp. And it was like trying to lure him into the black damp section. I shit you not. It's like a Stephen King movie. He was convinced that somehow, somewhere, someone on the surface in the winter at like 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, because it takes you a while to get underground, and you know, was piping in music. And I'm just staring. I don't know if he's just trying to rationalize what he heard, so he thinks he's not nuts, but. And my friend was like, oh, what about oxygen deprivation? Maybe he was suffering from oxygen deprivation. His brain was playing tricks. I'm like, dude, he had the flame lamp. And I asked him that, you know, thinking, is he hallucinating? Flame lamp's fine. So, it was weird. It was like Stephen King novels, trying to smoke him. He just said it was playing. It was on a loop. He said it was like, it was continuing. And even when he was walking away, it was playing in the distance. Man, that's so freaking unsettling. You couldn't pay, like, I know if I go in this mind, okay, that something would happen to me, because I've had just, it's just so I don't know what the hell it is. Is it something intelligent watching us? Is it something benign? Is it just something that deals with the way the universe works and it's not paranormal? It's just like a residual type haunting, which I don't understand, but, you know, a lot of people think that exists. Is it a demon? But I personally think it's intelligent because, man, my friend and I, another friend, we go back close mine. And right on the first level where it goes down to the second level, I notice a bear print, a bear footprint in clay. There's a lot of clay, and it literally made this bear imprint. And I was like, damn, dude, look at that, it's a bear. He's like, yeah, look at that. I'm like, holy shit, it's a big bear too. He's like, yeah, I mean, you know, you don't see that every day. And we're just perplexed that there's a bear print, because everyone's always like, oh, you ever run into wildlife? Nope. I see raccoon marks all the time and stuff. I've never seen a bear. I've never, you know, occasional bat. But with the white nose syndrome, you don't even see bats anymore. Never saw a snake, never saw a fox. Never saw a coyote. So, I took a clip. I'm going to insert that now. And if I can't insert that now, it's going to be at the end of this video. It's going to be attached to the very, very ass end of it, so look for it. I say plain as day, damn, that is so terrifying after I'm filming the bear print. And plain as day, something went, yeah. You know, I just had to take another one of the bear claw. That's so friggin' scary. It wasn't my friend talking. I didn't hear it when we were underground. It's called an EVP. It's called an electronic voice phenomena. And they don't know what it is. They don't know if it's a natural explanation. Some people think it's audio interference, but I mean, this thing was responding to me like intelligently. There's no way there was any type of contamination from outside because we are so far in this mine. There's so much damn rock. Nothing. Even radiation fallout probably couldn't get in that damn mine. So, yeah, listen to that for yourself. You'll hear it. It's creepy. So we go down, and the template was set for that day, and I didn't even know that I recorded something freaking freaky. Go down the second level, and there's like a weird four-way intersection. There's a mine car repair shop. Really epic mine car repair shop. It's like built right into the coal vein itself on both sides. They pour concrete stairs, concrete workstation, lockers, big ass steel I-beam overhead, and there's a big rock fall that came down over the steel I-beam. And it's landing, it's holding the roof, and the steel I-beam has bent. And it's nuts. There's a repair area, like when you pull into like an old Jiffy Lube and the mechanics would work underneath your vehicle in a pit. They built one of those with steel I-beams, so they could work on their mine cars. It's really neat. And it's collapsed completely from roof to floor in the one exit part of it, so you can only get into one side of it, but it's cool. So we're walking to it. It's a true story. My friend vouches. My friend is a hardcore skeptic. Not a skeptic anymore. He's less skeptical than I am even now. He was a total skeptic. I said, hey man, watch this spot. There's like water and shale. And I'm like, be careful this spot right here. And I'm using like 3 points of contact. I felt like something shoved me right as I said that. And my through knife goes flying out of my hands and right into the water. And I got hurt. Like I landed hard on my arm. I'm like, shit. I'm screaming. I pull my through knife out, jump through, and my light's like basically water resistant. And later on, as we cracked it open, it was dry. But it went out. There's no reason why it should have went out. Like it was staying on, and we're like, wow, lucky, you know, it's fine. And went out. So it felt like something shoved me. So I was uneasy, because it just literally like leveled me. It just felt like it kicked my legs out. And my friend said, man, it looked like something pushed you. Well, we go into the mine car repair shop and brush off that incident. We're having a good time talking, and we're like crouching near the repair pit. All of a sudden, he gets quiet and I get quiet. And he's quiet, I'm quiet, he's quiet, I'm quiet. I know he's hearing something, and I'm hearing something. And after like 20 seconds, so I'm like, do you hear something? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? You know? And he's like, I don't know. Oh, what the hell is that? I'm like, dude, what is that? He's like, it sounds like a hum, doesn't it? I'm like, what the hell? I mean, this mine's been closed since late 50s. No power, obviously. It gets flooded even. And he's like, it sounds like a mine car, electric locomotive. And I'm like, dude, it does. And like, it was occurring like in the distance. It would gradually get a little bit closer, and then it would grow more faint. And it was on a loop. It was like 10 or 12 times. And it was like, it was weird. It was far, but it would build up, get louder, wind down, build up, get loud, wind down. It was the same tempo. So I purposely got loud, thinking, you know, like, let's just That was weird. I was like, watch out for the mine locomotive so we don't get run over in the gangway, and he laughed. And I'm walking down these 4 or 5 stairs out of the repair shop back into the tunnel, and again, I got like leveled. I got pushed, and I caught myself. I was like, what the fuck, you know? And he's like, damn, dude, man, like something's after you. And I'm kind of spooked at this point. I'm spooked, because I'm getting shoved. We're hearing mine locomotives. It sounds nuts. And it's not like some sort of shared craziness where the one's feeding off the other person. I was just trying to keep a level head. I've had weird things happening. I always try to keep a level head. So I'm like, whatever. We're down here. He wants to get up to a higher working that's at an awkward angle. So I'm trying to get him on my shoulders. He's covered in mud. I didn't want to get covered in mud. So I found an old metal conveyor, and it was like acted like a shaker chute to load coal from the workings into coal cars. It's real nicely constructed piece of metal. It's well over 100 years old. It looks like it was just made yesterday. So I use that to put out like a 45-degree angle so he can climb up the working, and I could just, you know, grab him by the rear end, like give him a boost up. That way he's not getting me dirty. So like a moron, I'm picking up this couple 100-pound piece of metal, maybe 300-pound piece of metal, and I'm like standing it up, dropping it, you know, standing it up, dropping it till advance it through the gangway. And it's all the same like four-way intersection. Now this could just be stupidity, which it probably is, but I'm dropping it, and like when I dropped it, it hit the mine water so hard. It was just like mud. It wasn't even staying water. It, of all spots, blew off my glasses, the muck, and the acid mine drain just filled with like fine sediment in my eyeball. It was so caked down. I was screaming. Couple bottles of water. Took for 20 minutes. He's calmly flushing my eyeball. I mean, I would have been screwed if I was alone. There was no way I was going to get that water out if he wasn't with me. So I really appreciate him helping me, because I was being blinded down. That pain, the freaking. Now I know why they have eye wash stations. I remember being a kid in home back wondering, what the hell is that? That seems like overkill. Yeah. So he did his thing. I just stood there quietly. I think I prayed a little bit, and I just wouldn't move. I was just trembling with fear at that point inside my head. So, again, and I'm going to insert the clip after I'm done talking about, I'll tell you about this. I want to demonstrate what airflow at the bottom of an air shaft looks like, because I'm getting sketched out of my yard here. I got to shine my light. Saw an opossum in a tree here. I saw eyes. I didn't know opossums climb trees. But, my friend was a little bit lower than I am, and I'm using my through nut like this to show the particulates in the air flowing from right to left, because it was a perfect illustration of air flowing in a mine via an air shaft, and it was actually howlings. So I'm filming, and I'll insert. Here's a good demonstration of the way an air shaft works. There we go. Hear it? Is that you? Is that you? The end of this video attached. We both heard, you don't pick up the sound on the video, but we both heard like something throw a rock. And we're at the bottom of the stairs there on the second level, going up to the first. And in the audio clip, you can hear me say, "Did you hear that?" "Yeah." "Was that you?" "No." And then that time it would have taken for something to like move at like a pretty good jogging speed, I would say, this light emanates. And it comes up in front of my camera. I saw it with my freaking eyes. I saw like a blue-purple light for a moment. That's all I saw. It's creepy. It's bright. And it stops and it shoots like into the wall that I'm looking at. The wall strata. And it was weird. So I didn't think anything of it until I went home and I played it back. Again, I wasn't trying to catch anything spiritually. I've brought recording devices in mine subsequently, and I never catch anything when I'm looking for it. Literally, nothing. It's only when I'm not looking to catch something or not looking for any trouble does something rear its head. Except for one time, which I'll talk about. But it wasn't a bug. The entrance was very far away. We're down the second level. There's black damp down there that time of year. Also, the air flowing. A bug wasn't going to go against that air shaft flow, and you'll see how strong the airflow was. And it was winter. There's no bugs. There's nothing for it to eat. No bugs get down that. Some bugs get in some mines, not down this mine, especially second level. So I'll freeze down the video too and do it like quarter speed. It is weird when you play it back. It's got wings. Man, it's strange. That's the clearest evidence. Well, I've caught like 3 or 4 things on camera, but that's one of the best ones. So I had it with that mine. I haven't returned to that one since. I don't think you could pay me. Maybe with this small squad of infantrymen, but that's about it. Yeah, no, I'm good. So not all the mines are bad energy. There's a Pennsylvania Coal Company one. And I'm going to insert the clip right now.
Okay, I'm amazed. So this took roughly 100 years to form. Holy crap. Look at that, dude. That's remarkable. Okay. Okay, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. So this took roughly 100 years to form. Okay, I'm amazed. So this took roughly 100 years to form.
I was filming a stalagmite, and no one had disturbed this thing. It's huge, and I said in the clip, man, that thing must have taken 100 years to form. And instantly as I said it, something whispers into the camera, yeah. And it was weird, like, it wasn't my friend. Man, it was weird. We didn't hear anything when we were there. I played it back, and I had my headphones. I was like, what the hell was that? So if this is something, and it is a spirit or something, it's intelligent, it knows we're there, and it even thinks that it's like part of the conversation. So again, listen to that clip. I say, sounds like, that thing must have taken 100 years to form. Plain as day, it goes, yeah. Weird. I remember that day I took like no video, basically. Just strange. Now that mine, 3 different times I felt a pat on the back, like a embrace on my shoulder. The first time it happened, I was going over a really bad cave in the Red Ash Vein, and the Red Ash Vein is notorious for bad roof. There's really, really bad roof fall with further delamination in the ceiling and walls, and it comes out of a squeeze, which is really bad. It's like a giant cave-in that just settles on the like robbed out area, and has come down one piece and is now just hanging out for X amount of acres. This big squeeze. And then it comes to a massive cave-in, and it's going to go, because there's like 3 or 4 different sections of delamination in that immediate vicinity. And there's not a lot of wiggle room. And I remember I was crossing with my backpack on, and I felt something freaking touch my shoulder. And I didn't panic, because it wasn't scary, didn't feel like a bad energy. I didn't even think it was energy. And I was like, I look around, like, oh man, I only had a couple inches clearance. And it dawned on me, I was like, oh, thanks, Tommy Knocker. Don't know what that is. And Tommy knockers are an ancient force that the miners believed were there to cause mischief, but also could be good and were relatively benign. Yeah, Google Tommy knockers, and not the Stephen King movie, by the way. So another time I felt it in that vicinity, and I felt air whoosh by me. I was like, oh man, what the hell? Again, it wasn't like a bad energy, but like something touched me and I felt like a whoosh. And I started recording and I captured nothing. Stayed there for like 20 minutes trying to catch something on film. Nothing. Then, shit, something just crawled past me. It's probably just a little animal or something. That was scary. Oh man. Okay, anyway. Yeah. So another time to put some more wood on. My friend went down another gangway, and this was only about a couple 100 yards, 300 yards maybe, from that bad cave-in where I was touched. And I felt something, oh, goodness, hot. I felt something touch, again, my right shoulder. And I thought, because I was just waiting patiently for him, I thought it was a trolley cable post. So like when they ran electric mine mowers, they'd have a big piece of thick copper, and it was like an electrical pole on the surface, how you have a telephone pole, X amount of feet, telephone pole, and wire. And it's the same thing with trolley cables, but except it's a solid piece of steel, and it comes down like, you know, a couple feet, sometimes only a foot, but sometimes like 3 feet. And they would string up copper wire to run the trolley electric mine locomotives on. I thought I rubbed into one of those. It was that solid. You'll do that. And look around. I was far away from the nearest trolley cable post, and I was like, "Oh man, it's the Tommy knockers." I was like, it literally rubbed on my shoulder, like a massage for a moment. And man, I was like, "Oh hey, thanks for reminding me to be safe in that cave-in one time." I mean, so nothing else. Now my friend went in the pump room of that mine. Did a solo. I don't like when he does solos, but I acted as a safety when he used to go in, and we always agreed upon a time, and he told me where he'd be because I'd have a map and he'd have the map, and I'd have a team on standby in case we had to go in with oxygen and whatever. So he said when he got in the pump room, I said, anything supernatural happen? I always say it half-heartedly because he sometimes says yeah, and he was like, yeah. In the pump room, and something plain as day, a dude said, close the gate. And he said, and it's weird because it was relevant to the mine pump operation because there's a big pipe there, and like on a dam, when they let out water from a pipe, they open and close the gate. And he goes, you know, the gate was, I don't know if he said it was stuck open. Yeah, I think he said it was stuck open. And something was telling him to close the gate. I was like, how was the oxygen? He was like, low, but it wasn't, you know, like depriving my mind and my brain of oxygen low. So that's strange. Yeah, close the gate. Bizarre, you know? So there's one that's real, the Lehigh Valley Coal Company mine. And this one, I'm never going in. Couldn't pay me. The energy's off. I asked people, I picked up on it years ago, and everyone I bring there, I always ask what, you know, they thought of it. I said, you know, didn't feel off to you? And my one friend, who I love dearly, he kind of doesn't pick up on the world sometimes. He said, man, the energy in that one is off. It just feels like there was a lot of suffering down there. And it's a small mine, it's 100% intact. It's just a slope, and then it just goes straight to water. A little bit of side workings to the right, and it hooks to the left, and it only contains like a half a mile. And the workings to the left and right are too short or robbed out to really go anywhere. So you're just walking down a small slope and a non-caved-in gangway about a half mile. Nothing to write home about. But there's something up. You could cut the energy with a knife. I mean, I'm looking around my back here. That's how creepy this mine makes me feel. Just talking about it. So I brought my wife in there well over a decade ago, and she even just recently said, you know, yeah, I thought I told you about that. She only got halfway down the slope, and she's a hardcore caver back in the day. She used to go through all those squeezes and come out covered in mud. I don't mess around with that stuff. I don't cave and I don't do that stuff. Even the anthracite mines, I would never crawl. Like, nope, I'm good. So she said the energy is off, and that's why she only made it halfway down the slope. And again, it's a really small slope. So, ironically, I did a solo one time. And I didn't want to. And I got halfway down the slope, and I never clam up. My hair stood up on my neck and on my arms. And I couldn't explain why. I wasn't scared at the time. But then, like, after my hair stood up on my arms, I was taking like a video or a photo, I can't remember. I got like panicky. Like this doom feeling came over me. And I like literally started trembling with fear. Actually trembling with fear. So I got the hell out. Just felt like something was watching me. And again, I've been in so many damn mines. I'm sorry for the truck traffic here. But been in so many mines, and I was shaking with fear. And I got the hell out, and I just felt such relief when I got out. And I mean, I'm not a coward when it comes to mines, because we do 10 to 14 hour trips. I'm not even 10 to 14 hour trips. 10 to 14 hour trips. I was down there for like 15 minutes. I was scared. So I went up there with the one guy who got possibly possessed in that one mine I was talking about, and he was asking me if I know what's wrong with me and blah blah blah, and you know, look in his eyes. And we went down there, and there's a manway underneath the main haulage slope, and the manway would be for men to go in so they didn't get killed by equipment haulage, because you know, the 5-ton coal cars, the wire ropes, the electric mine mowers, all of it, just the traffic could kill them. Just the huge trips of mine cars. So they made a safe entrance for the men to go in. So that's why it's called manway. We go in the winter at nighttime, and sure enough, I found a bucket, and I was afraid to open the bucket because I thought there was going to be human remains in it. It just felt weird because the way it was wrapped in a blanket. And it was this beautiful, beautiful dead brown cat. And I didn't see any signs of torture or like a gunshot or anything. It was weird. It almost looked like maybe its neck was broke. I couldn't tell. So we got out. I called the Humane Society because it was like winter time, so things were still open. It was like 6 o'clock only. So, but it was pitch dark out. And of course, Humane Society didn't help me. I called the police. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. I said I could bring the animal down to the road. I explained, you know, hey, we're in an abandoned mine and blah blah blah. I think someone was gonna do some sort of sick ritualistic stuff on it, because this area is kind of like a common area, and it's patrolled by, I don't want to name any agencies, but there's some law enforcement presence there. And the guy was like, hey, you shouldn't be out here, it's hunting season, and blah 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 blah. So we're just hiking. He's like, I don't think you should hike here. And I'm like, look, we're not going to be on the surface. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're going to be underground in a mine. And he was like perplexed. He's like, that was cool. And we showed him our safety gear and how I've been doing it for X amount of years. And he's like, all right, you have safeties and all that? Like, yeah, people know where we're at. We have a predetermined time. He warned me. He's like, be careful. It's a weird mountain. Bad things happen here. People torture animals. I've seen bear decapitated, deer decapitated, foxes, coyotes. Like, people shoot stuff here and kill it for fun. So watch out. And I'm like, oh, I know, I've had some weird things. But you couldn't pay me. I will never go in that mine again. And it's one of the nicest mines. It's, again, nothing to write home about. There's no infrastructure or anything, but damn, I hate that mine. Hate it. And it was driven, the slope was driven in the late 50s according to my map. So I don't know what the hell got in there, you know, because that's like a new mine since the industry collapsed in 59, 60. So attached to that one, there's another mine, but it's technically the same mine. There's just about 13 headings which are working, separating them, and you'd have to literally crawl about a quarter mile. So it's kind of like a different mine, but it's literally the same mine. But we consider it a different mine. And I never really went in there. I only went in there a few times. And my friend, who's the skeptic, who has a lot of weird stuff happen to him, he went in there and he was like, I'm like, hey, look, I refer to the other mine as the demon mine, where all the bad stuff was happening to me. And he brushed it off as nothing. And we use these through nights, and they're real expensive. Mine's $100 almost. Probably well over 100 now with inflation. just for a 1 lithium battery operated light, but they're beyond amazing. You can see how bright they are here. It's on 1, it's on 2. And they last a long time. On turbo mode here, it can last sometimes like 45 minutes. But his has 4 of those lithium-ion batteries, and they're really strong. They're really well made. His light was like almost $300. His batteries, he's marks how old they are with marker. He's always swapping out old with new, you know. He maintains his stuff real well. And in that mine, I called him up before I made this video to see if his story still matched mine, and it did. In fact, he said he got shoved after this incident, which I kind of remember him saying. But he was whispering, hey man, my through-night was fully charged and something drained it, and it's like real hot. That shouldn't happen. He's like an electronic whiz. He's all into like servers and building computers. He knows his electronics. He's really good. Took engineering classes at Penn State. He was like, oh man, something drained my through-night, man. Like, what the F? He's like, you're right. Like, he felt like something. And he was like scared shitless. He never gets this way. Never till this day. I've never seen him that rattled. He goes, something's here, man. I'm like, dude, just calm down. Ignore it. If it is here, literally ignore it, you know, because you harping on it, it might, you know, stick around or do something. And man, I felt this freaking bush of air. It was like whoosh, right in between our heads. It felt like when a bus blows by you on a summer day, a hot summer day, and it's like you feel it whoosh by you, and then like 5 seconds later you feel that shockwave, and it went right in between our heads, and we were only like 1.5 feet apart, 2 feet. And he, the other night when I talked to him, he said, yeah, he's like, but I got shoved by the whoosh. And I was like, damn, do you see? Like, it was weird. I remember the spot where it happened. I could like, oh, nothing else happened. I remember seeing a poor dead animal that got stuck in there, and there's like standing water because of the backfill. And it was like, I don't know if it was a groundhog or maybe it was an opossum, but it looked like a groundhog and like woodchuck or whatever. And there was it was so gross because like the mold grew like so much roots on top of the water. It was like tree roots, like tons of it, and it like got all over the dead animal. It was dead for quite some time. It was like sucking the nutrients out of the corpse of the animal. Oh, so creepy. But that one I felt like something staring at me. But the other one I was talking about with the cat, the same mine that's attached to it, what was weird about that was I took a film and I did review the film. I'm not going to share it because my one buddy's talking so much in it and I can't really edit it out. But I was talking about the ghost experience and how it's creepy down there, and I was just talking about the ghost. I wasn't mocking. I thought I was mocking it, but I wasn't. And until I played it back, I was being kind of respectful about it. I was talking about the ghost, and I wasn't sure if there was a ghost or not, and Paul and I were laughing. And like 10 seconds later or less, I got dropped. Now, it is a slope, and there's, you know, slippery spots, but, you know, I don't really, knock on wood, I'm gonna knock on wood here, fall that much in the mines, thank God. Knock on wood. And I got laid out. I remember landing on my wrist, and I was pissed. I remember in the film, I go, my rotator cuff, and I stopped filming. But I was just talking about it, and I got dropped. I was using this Sony Handycam. I was so grateful I didn't break it. He couldn't pay me going that mine. I don't know what the hell it is. Even when I drive by that mountain, I look out the window, it's like, man, it's heavy. It's just heavy. Yeah, and then, see, I'm writing, I'm looking from a big sheet of paper I have stuff written. I brought a new camera in that mine. Didn't drop it. A new Canon one. It's like a $300 camera. Not the most expensive, not, you know, the cheapest. It broke. It broke. It had no reason to break. It didn't get wet, didn't drop, didn't scratch. It was just straight up freaking destroyed. I remember I sold it to a guy, and I tried everything. I sold it to this guy. He's like, oh yeah, it's working fine for me. Oh man, whatever. You know, it's just couldn't win. Couldn't win. So real quick, another mine the same thing happened to my buddy with his through-night. And it was the first time I went underground with him. We went like in a group, and he was complaining. He's like, something drained my through-night. And that's only happened twice out of his hundreds and hundreds of trips. It's like something's draining the energy to use the energy. And you know, like how we talked about how something whooshed in between us after it drained his batteries. I'm feeling like it drained his batteries so it could use that energy and blow past our head. Like, I'm not kidding, because if you think about it, even spirits hypothetically would have to use energy. So, who knows, maybe it was manifesting itself. But my friend doing solo trips real quick, he heard a whistle one time, like a, and it like, oh shit, as I just did that, something just moved past me. Okay, in the distance, just in the leaves, probably squirrel. Probably squirrel. But he went further down, and then he heard a again, and he was far in. He was like, you go on this one collar, and then you go through barrier pillar, and then you get into this collar, and then you go down a massive gangway for over a couple miles. And it was right at the end. And he had to walk past where he heard the whistle, and there was nothing. It was just wild. Just absolutely wild. So, a mine we did, this is the last story. It's absolutely huge, and we're trying to get into another collar again through a barrier pillar. And there's just too much water, and it was past my comfort zone, so I decided to hang back, and he decided to go ahead. And again, we agreed upon a time in case he was too long, and he went ahead, and I was back waiting. And he came across a fan, took a photo and a video of the fan. It was, you don't really come across ventilation fans down in abandoned mines, only very seldomly do you. And he said, you know, it was weird because like down there near the fan, the oxygen is like in the low 19s, and you know, you don't have to worry till it's like 17 or lower. So he was coming back, and there was like a trip of cars in the water, flooded gangway there. And he said he heard a humming. And he said it was like a residual sound where the fan was running. Like just like the mine cars, it was like real low, and then it would get louder, and then it would dwindle out. He said it did for a couple minutes straight, and then it stopped. It was so weird. He was like, man, it's like the miners were turning on the fan for me because they knew the oxygen was low. So he was like, it was weird. He said he didn't want to go back there and take a look because he was afraid to see if it was running or not. But he said, hey, thanks for turning on the fan for me. But he said, hey, thanks for turning on the fan for me. So, I mean, is there a natural reason for this? Is it just natural phenomena? Is it something intelligent? I think it's intelligent because I'm going to show the clip where something shot up from the bottom of the air shaft up towards the first level. And it's just a bright light that stops right in front of my camera and shoots into a wall. It was weird.
Here's a good demonstration of the way an air shaft works. There we go. Yeah? Is that you? Is that you?
So let me know if you like this video. I'm sorry for the rambling. I'm sorry for the occasional traffic here. Yeah, I've had some weird stuff happen. Please stay out. It took me 5, 6, 7 years to get even remotely good at exploring, and I didn't use a safety lamp for like the first 4 or 5 years, which is just incredibly stupid. Because if you hit black damp, you can die real quick, and people don't know about the delamination, the ceilings, the potentials for cave-in, the dangers of just running out of light, not letting someone know where you're at. I mean, if your light goes out, you're toast. So don't ever go in. Please stay out and stay alive. Thanks for watching us.
Oh man, I had these shoes for years. I was filming a YouTube video here. And too close to the campfire. I was smelling something. I'm like, man, something smells like an electrical fire. No, it was my shoes. My old school Skechers. Oh well. LOL.